What's up, everybody? Jules Jenssen here. I'm at Soundcheck Studios in Pembroke, Mass. I'm with my man Vinny Puglisi, and we're programming lights for Two Lot. And what we're doing today is taking lighting programming that we've set up using a pretty cool system here between Ableton and Grand MA and Resolume, all here talking to each other over network and doing OSC and MIDI, full tempo sync, and pretty complex lighting programming from the playback session that we can really fine-tune with different musical parts, extract MIDI pieces from stems or whatever we want. So what we started with was programming the lights that way. But today, we're taking the new MVP from Forecast here, and this box can not only host video clips, but it can also record lighting data. So the lights that we're going to be using for the show are some Chauvet Well Sticks 360 lights that the band owns. These are easy to transport, they're easy to plug in, and they're quick to set up. So we know that we can roll into shows that don't necessarily have a huge light rig there, roll with these lights totally on our own volition, and roll with an MVP. And we've programmed every song to be played back with MIDI triggers now in the arrangement. So all this complex programming that wrote all the lighting, we don't need anymore. And we're down to just these clips here, which are back in the arrangement side in their own lane. And those now just trigger the overall looks at different sections. If you can see these little orange slices here, right? So at each section, and that's going to trigger back different clips, which we've laid out and built out in the MVP for every song and every section there, triggered by different MIDI notes on channel 3.
Why did you segment it into sections?
We segmented it, good question, Vinny. So we segmented it into sections so that every different section of the song can have its own cue. So if the band rearranges stuff, we can subdivide, and it's not just going to be one long cue that then all of a sudden we would need to jump into the middle of or something if we rearrange. So now we have every section of every song as its own standalone.
Are they on time code?
Some of it can be on time code with the MVP, but in our case, we're not, because we just rolled it back to be able to be more modular and not have to rely on that system. So the time code will always stay for our main Grand MA based setup, but when we're flying with just the MVP or something like that, strictly MIDI based, very easy to move around and rearrange and not deal with the troubles of time code. There are advantages to using time code that we're sacrificing here, but the advantages we're getting outweigh. So,
can I interject here?
Sure.
What's really cool about how you segmented it is that if they decide to jam or vamp on a segment, we can just re-trigger that cue and it will just keep repeating the same segment over and over.
Yep.
So it allows for improvisation in a time-coded set.
Yep.
And everything is triggered with MIDI notes, and it's pretty awesome.
If I'm at playback, I can have this MPK or any controller like this also plugged in directly to the MVP through one of the USB ports or a DIN MIDI port as well. So the computer is sending messages to it in through this port. It's sending ArtNet lighting data out to the lights through its Ethernet port, but I could also have something like this backed up so I can, if they're jamming and we didn't just loop a section in playback or something like that, then we can always, override or trigger something like that straight from the playback position as well. So MVP, quite literally being the MVP of the show in this case, and allowing Vin to go do another gig with the homies The Special, and we'll be out there at Garcia's supporting String Cheese Incident for 2 nights, November 1st and 2nd, and we'll be using the MVP to trigger these well sticks and add some sugar and spice to our holiday festivities. So here we go. A lot of software, too many pieces of gear and software to name, but some custom Python scripting wizardry in the background and OSC magic to make this possible. So for the 3 nerds still watching, hope you dug it. All right, see y'all later.